Hey everybody, we are live. We're back after a week off, and I've got some things to talk about today. Hopefully, people will find interesting. Uh, so let's start in the chat, and then we'll jump into the main event. Joe, welcome. Glad to see you here. Got TVJ, slightly trippy music. Well, I can't exactly play Pink Floyd, so you know, I picked from the stock music in StreamYard. And James, welcome. Glad to have everybody here today. So, let me move my notes over to the other monitor, maybe. Oh, I know why I can't do that. There we go. Okay, so, yeah, this is the first week back since announcing that we're going to an every other week schedule for the summer. My hope with this is that it will free up some time that I can spend working on some other projects and then hopefully making more content. So that's all kind of falling in place. Always the Joker. Yeah, music makes me want mushrooms. I had mushrooms yesterday, but they were on pizza. Does that count? Well, different type of mushroom, maybe. Okay, so I wanted to give little bit of an update on a couple of things. The first is I had talked in, I believe, the previous live stream about this print server project I've got going on for my day job. And since we're using a Canon printer for this, we've got to use this software called Uniflow for the print server for these bigger Canon machines. And I should have anticipated, based on the previous implementation we did of Uniflow, but should have anticipated a few hiccups along the way. So for all the urgency to get paperwork in and have signatures and be ready to pay for this, the project's not done yet. Big surprise, right? So, one issue that we ran into, because there's this project is sort of twofold, right? So the cloud version of Uniflow will allow people to print from their own devices by using an email address and basically sending to this predefined email address with the document they want to print attached to the email. And that is the part that we got implemented, and it works relatively well. We found a hiccup with Proton Mail, and from my testing, it seems that if you try to send a print job from Proton Mail with no subject line, it sends, but you don't get anything back from the Uniflow server, which normally what happens is you send the email with your attached document, you get a email back that it has been received, and then you get a second email back stating that it's ready to print and giving you a release code so that you can walk up to the printer, type in the code, and print your document. So the code was not arriving in Proton Mail without a subject line. So that was one little hiccup we encountered. So the bigger problem that we ran into was that our public machines, and this was done before I took the job, public machines were set up with users such that they were the users were all called patron with a space, and then WS for workstation, and then the workstation number after that. Well, so the problem with printing from our patron machines is that since they all have that same first part of their name, it cannot differentiate between which machine has sent the print job, which kind of defeats the purpose of what we normally have set up, because normally the way the previous version of Uniflow worked on the local network is that it would go to a print queue, and then a staff member would have to release it to the printer, and then you don't hand the documents to the patron until they pay for the documents, right? So one possible workaround for this is that we just rename the users and take out the space. This should work, but the guy that I've been working with has gone back to the Uniflow people, or NTware as the company is called, which I believe they're based out of Germany. So there's been a little bit of lag in responses back and forth. Not the end of the world, but it's something I wish their documentation were set up such that they were aware of these types of scenarios and can work through them without having to do this international back and forth dance. So one option we've discussed is renaming the users, taking out the space. That should work. But the solution that my contact was working on was basically setting it up so that they have it identifies by which email is being used to send the document to the print queue, and using the little trick with Gmail that you can use your username with a plus sign and then a number, and then it will show up different. But yeah, that's been been kind of an interesting project. It seems like no matter what is planned with this Uniflow software, there's always a hiccup. So it is a little frustrating, but it's one of those things. Trying to get other things done, and just when I get the word that we can move forward on this, we'll do so. But I had hoped to keep this simple for the sake of my staff, the rest of the staff that we've got a couple of them that are not terribly techy. So, which is not their fault. This stuff should work better and be a little easier to implement and straightforward to implement than what it has been. So that's update number one. So let's take a look at chat and see where everybody's at, and go from there. So let's see. Hey Tony, how's it going? New glasses. Yep, this is one of two new pair of glasses that I got. The other one is clear. So that was my fun pair, and this is my more of an everyday pair. So Uniflow sounds like a medication for a large prostate. Only you, Joe. Only you would come up with something like that. Um, this reminds me I need to circle back to our printer project. Well, good. I'm glad I slipped a reminder in there for you. Okay, so move on to the second update that I've got a note on. So, the live stream from May 14th focused on a piece of software called Local Send. And so this is basically an open source cross platform answer to Apple's AirDrop. So I've continued my testing of this software, and I am finding this very useful. The price is certainly right. It works anywhere. And so if you're in an environment with different OSs, whether they be desktop or mobile, I highly recommend Local Send. Obviously, since this is an open source piece of software, I'm not being sponsored or anything by them, but my one of my goals is to promote things that I find useful, and whether that's open source or commercial proprietary software on occasion. If I find it useful, then I'm gonna name drop it and talk about it a little bit. So let's see. I downloaded Local Send and then never did anything with it. Well, that's not good, but I'm sure they appreciate the download. Okay, so guess we're kind of trucking through this a little bit faster, so I'll try to slow down when I uh, get a little bit further into things. Um, okay, so the next thing I wanted to bring up was about content. Uh, and so I've been kind of riding this roller coaster. Obviously, March was a great month for me since I stressed myself out and did the daily content challenge and declared that a success at the end of the month. Um, but in the time since then, it has not been quite as consistent. It's not been quite as great for the numbers, but hey, it's YouTube, and I expect a little bit of a roller coaster ride. Um, but it is how it is. So, in this line of thinking, and to try to make things a little more interesting for me to record and produce and whatnot, I've experimented a little bit with broadening the topics to include a little bit more Windows. You've seen this in some videos and also in some of the news topics that I cover in the midweek news videos, which are actually doing slightly better now, but I haven't um, got a lot of data yet on being able to compare to the original format where I wasn't covering Windows news. So, or not as much. So, this is a little experiment that I've got going on, and it's kind of interesting. Gives a little more variety to the content. So I guess my question to the people in the chat and to anybody listening to this at some future point in time, you can always chime in the comment section. But for the people here live in chat today, um, is there a better balance that I can try to attain? Do you like the little bit of Windows stuff that I've been throwing in to the mix? Or would you like me to go back to being primarily Linux and open source oriented? Um, like I said, I'm just trying to keep things a little bit interesting. I do have a poll up on the community tab for the channel, and you can feel free to chime in there as well. But I was just curious um, if anybody, if there's something that people like about the coverage of Windows, things that people don't like about it, if there's some suggestions that people have, I'm all ears and will at least consider suggestions. But I at least wanted to bring it up to this core group and see what people might have to say. Um, Obviously, I know at the end of the day, it's my channel and I can do whatever the heck I want with it. But my intention is not to make it crash and burn, but to try to strike a balance between what I find fun to record and produce and what people are finding useful. So that's if you've got ideas or comments, I'd love to hear them. So let's check out chat and see what people might be saying. Um, let's see. Da, 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 da. Uniflow sounds like a toilet. um, you're going to think about that medication every time you say Uniflow, right? Yeah, that sounds about right. Let's see. Saw that one. Been working on my lawn sprinkler system. Very nice. Welcome, David. Just a quick stop in to say hi. Have to pressure wash my driveway today in this sunny weather. I feel so sorry for you, Jason. So sorry for you. It's going to be another hot one today here in Michigan. We are looking at what's maybe it's a little cooler today. 72 right now. And if this wants to do anything, nope, not that. I finally have a SIM card coming from Verizon so I can get rid of this 4-year-old phone. Hey, it finally opened the weather. Or it's trying. 76 here. It's going to get up to about 80 freedom units. As Unky Joe would call it. Seems that YouTube numbers across the board have slowed as of late. Yeah, I've definitely noticed that, and I think it may be in part due to what what YouTube as an entity is doing with promoting of shorts, and to be honest, I've experimented with shorts, and I'm not really impressed with trying to fit into 58 seconds and the format, and it doesn't really lend well to the type of content I want to make. So, but hey, it's all good. Let's see. Jason says, I think you should do both. Don't close doors. All sorts of OSs. Yeah, and I've actually thought about doing some videos, maybe playing with free BSD or Dragonfly BSD, just to give a little mix in there. Because if there's one thing I do like a Unix-like OS. It just works the way my head works better than Windows and stupid drive letters. But I will continue to blame Bill Gates and Gary Kildall for that, because the drive letters actually originated in CPM in the mid-70s. So, but hey, that's a story for another day, right? Let's see. I've been focusing on videos similar to the ones that I made, which did the best, working okay so far. Yeah, I've kind of circled around to some of that as well. I did a couple of fog videos earlier in the year once they released their newest version. But it's one of those things. There are only so many varieties of videos I can do with fog, given that given a couple things that I don't use it day to day anymore, so it's less useful, and with their sporadic development situation, I just kind of have a hard time recommending that software for most cases when there are things like Clonezilla and RescueZilla out there that could be used in its place. But let's see. Yesterday was hot in Long Island. Today is much cooler. We're at 63. My favorite temp for a sunny day. I would like 63. It has been pretty hot here the last couple of days, so I've kind of, other than yesterday when I went out to help my dad with some computer issues, and there may be a video coming out of that, but um, we'll see, we'll see. Um, so he's currently running a computer that I built for him about 6-ish years ago, and um, we actually ended up ordering him um, a B-Link, one of the mini PCs that I've talked about before, um, with a what is it, a Ryzen 5 6600, 16 gigs of RAM, and it's got the Radeon graphics, of course. And it'll drive up to 3 monitors at 4K. Not that he'll ever have 3 monitors hooked up, but um, yeah. I ran out of tech ideas for shorts. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it, but I'm unsure what to do with it other than I've got one idea, and basically that's doing a short where I basically pop on and do like a tech trivia type question and answer type of thing with it, but I'm not sure how well that would go over. I like a wide variety of topics. I am 3 minutes behind. Wow. Um, didn't know there'd be that kind of delay, but uh, interesting. I am behind on 3 security cam and DVR reviews that I got the units, but have been lazy. Yeah, I've got a couple of things. I was originally contacted for what would have been quote unquote sponsorships. Basically, I'd get a free um, license to use a piece of software um, in exchange for a review. And after doing some initial reviewing, I decided not to go through with these um, for a review, a sponsored review, just because I like the free solution better, and it would be hard for me to say something nice about a product that I didn't really like. I have to do one of those security cam reviews this afternoon. So I've actually got a video recorded to come out tomorrow. All I have to do is get the final scheduling in place for it, but it's recorded, it's uploaded. It's just spending a few minutes to do that. So I recorded it and edited yesterday before I went out to help my dad, and just never came back to it because it was so hot when I got back. Put up the pool, it cools down 10 degrees. Nice. We're putting up our pool this afternoon. It's supposed to get to 32 degrees Celsius here this week. Very nice. Welcome, Catherine. Glad to see you back. 3 of my PC build shorts are still doing great. Yeah, I think I've made like 2/100ths of a penny or something like that off from shorts. Very, very little from those. I've not had luck with shorts. My most popular one was about my washing machine. That's fair. I'm behind because I got to the gym and I had to change. I'm making a point of going to the gym 5 times a week. Wow. Yeah, there was a time when I was doing that, sometimes 6 times a week. sadly, that ended when I ended up in a car accident. I was doing this in preparation for a friend's wedding, and then I got in a car accident and had a little bit of whiplash, so I stopped going to the gym and never really got back into that habit at the frequency. Now, one thing I have done, I am 2 months into no pop, so I'm still having a little bit of roller coaster with that. Um, I have picked up drinking a little more coffee some days, but I have not had pop in 2 months as of this past Friday. Woohoo! um, so that's going well. I've taken up some of these. Occasionally, I'll get a um, what is it? The Lipton brisk fruit drinks. I'm not really a tea person, so um, the only way I'd really drink tea is more like an Arnold Palmer, where it's half tea and half lemonade type of thing. But yeah, so let's see. Oops, let's see. All right. I have been using the doTERRA products. I've noticed a little bit of difference. Um, I I didn't take them with me when I went down to Illinois last weekend, so I'm getting back into the swing this week with them. But um, overall, I can tell a little bit of a difference. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna keep pushing, and if it continues to be under 80 today, then I'll fill up my water bottle and go for a walk this afternoon, which I think will help the cause if I can get out and at least walk a few times a week, and then maybe work towards going back to the gym in the fall and things of that nature. But us old guys, they've got all this chair yoga and craziness that we can do to um, compensate for going to the gym, for not going to the gym, I guess. Okay, so the last big um, thing on my agenda for today is, and let me set up something here real quick. Okay, so let's pop over here and do that. Okay, so some of you may have seen a video that Willie Howe put out a little while ago talking about a syslog server that Grandstream has put out that runs on Windows. And it's nothing you install, it's just an executable that you run. And so I decided, okay, well, let's play with this a little bit. And so for each host that you have syslog configured for, it gives you a folder, and it obviously shows the date. But I thought, okay, well, let's have a little fun and move a little bit away from what Grandstream may have intended this for, which is probably for their phone systems and other equipment that they make. But I thought, okay, let's run the syslog server, and of course there's nothing in that file other than timestamps. Okay, so let's jump to this one. This is from May 31st. Oh, there we go. And So I've got this set up on my Proxmox server. I also set it up on my Synology NAS and my Zyxel or Zyxel, however you want to pronounce it, switch, one of my switches, as well as configuring on Unify, which Will did in his video. So just for the sake of argument, copy this and we'll drop this into chat, and then we'll copy. I grabbed a reference article as well that I used for configuring it on my Proxmox server, which all you have to do is find something that works with Debian. This is not something that you can do in the graphical interface of Proxmox. You have to drop down to a shell or a remote into it to set this up. But as you can see, it does work, and I've not spent a lot of time going through the logs on this, but there are some things here that are kind of interesting. Most of the time it's just reporting the timestamp, and of course, you know, there are different logging rates or different things you can log that will get put into the files. So the files, let's jump here. This is, well, I guess that's not a good example. Nor is that. So the files, they max them out at 10 megabytes a piece, and then they create a new file. So that's kind of nice. So they're not huge files. You can still relatively easily search them. But yeah, just kind of an interesting thing to play with, because I've never worked too much with syslog stuff on Linux as far as setting up a centralized logging server or anything of that nature. But to me, this is a good interim step just to get your toes wet and see what you can log with it. You know, get those settings correct, and then you can set up a server that will pull in logs from multiple devices. So the other part of this that I started taking a look at was a piece of software called NXLog. And one of the things this can do is convert your Windows binary log files to syslog format, which is a text format. And it has some other bells and whistles, so that you could have NXLog in a relay set up, and then sending that to a log collection server for further analysis. So I may be doing some videos on some of this and going through the steps to set it up. But let's see, we come back here. Let's see, I guess there's a different way we can do this. Okay, so let's see. So the file that you want to edit is etsy rsyslog.conf. And what they suggest in that document is that you come down to the bottom, and this is where I added the line for UDP and for TCP going to that syslog server, which is just, as you can see, the IP address of the server and the port number. And then there was some additional things here that you can set. Queue file name, max disk space, save on shutdown, things of that nature, so that you can avoid some issues that may crop up. I've not really had any problems with it so far, but you know, I'm still just kind of experimenting with this and letting it run for a while, and trying to decide what further research I want to do into this to make it more useful if I do a video on it. So that's kind of where I'm at on that project. So I do have several things in the works, shall we say, I guess. So I love the idea of logs, but always find them hard to go through. Yeah, it's one of those things that's kind of it's almost an art being able to go through the logs and pick out useful information, and you know, not spend a lot of time looking at the stuff that just repeats, or refining the parameters that of things that you're sending to the logs, so that you don't have all that fluff and can focus on the useful information. Sometimes you can't easily separate those things out, and you know, that's where some of these centralized log collection servers and analysis tools come into play to make that easier. So I feel like I've just kind of touched the tip of the iceberg with logging and things, but I want to get a little more in-depth knowledge myself before I start making videos on it, so I don't end up sounding like an idiot when I talk about it. But Lily's video that I linked in the chat is a good starting point for the Grandstream syslog server. And of course, I'm not finding the link for it, but there is a link directly to download the software in Willie's video, so I guess it's a free plug for Willie Day. But that's all right, because I've got over the last 5 years or so, I've got a lot of value out of topics Willie has covered, and hey, why not give back a little bit? I'm assuming most of you are familiar with Mr. Willie Howe, but you know, there may be people that watch this at some later point that aren't familiar with Willie, and you know, hopefully that'll get him a couple of views. So, but anyways, so we can jump back to me. So, uh, what does everybody have in the pipeline for things they're working on? Does anybody want to talk about that? Any upcoming videos? You know, I'm happy to pull up people's channels if they want, and get a little plug in here. But yeah, I'm ready to start this week off on a high note. I've got a video ready for tomorrow. Midweek news will obviously happen on Wednesday. Uh, there should be a video on either Friday or next Sunday. Next week will be an off week for the live stream, but I'll either do a video on Friday or on Sunday, maybe both, if I really get adventurous this week. You know, and just kind of keep pushing and getting some content out there, and you know, see if I can counteract the effects that the algorithm has been having on everybody lately. Because I've heard from more than one person that you know, views and revenue and everything are a little bit down right at the moment. So you know, it's all good. We'll recover from this just like anything else, and um, yeah. So let's see what we're seeing in chat. I'm trying some DIY connection bonding. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Um, let's see. Haven't finished testing yet, but may do it live on the channel tomorrow night. Well, that sounds like fun. That sounds like fun. I'm almost to 900 subs, so that's great. Good, good. Well, we'll get you to 1,000 yet. um, if I had to give you or myself at 900 subs one piece of advice, that would be don't rely solely on AdSense. You know, work with Teespring or whatever and get some TVJ hats or shirts or whatever, and you know, let them drop ship to people. You know, the affiliate programs on Amazon and some of the other places are good, but you know, diversify out. Something that I didn't do soon enough, and you know, it's one of those things that I came into the YouTube world knowing nothing about recording or editing or publishing content, thumbnails, keywords, you know, the whole nine yards. I came into this very green, and I think my content has improved a lot over the last 5 years. I think it's improved a lot since 2021 when I got the new Mac Mini and you know, the microphone, the camera, and different lighting and things, and just tried to step things up a little bit. But yeah, it's interesting doing this, and it's kind of riding out the storm of low viewership at the moment, but that's all right. That's all right. Slow and steady wins the race, right? It's all good. It's all good. Um, YouTube is basically a hobby for me, but thank you for the advice. You're very welcome. I started doing it to improve my speaking abilities. Yeah, um, that was part of the reason I spent a few years teaching IT courses is to improve my speaking capabilities. Really, I started the improvement upslope, I guess, when I took a Dale Carnegie course. One of my previous employers offered that as an option that was heavily encouraged um, and subsidized by the company. So it's one of those things that I really kind of need to dust off some of that information, maybe get in contact with my mentor from the Carnegie program, and just run through some things, and you know, dust off some of those skills that um, spent some time dormant before I really started using them in a fashion that I wanted to. And I think this particular person would spend a couple hours with me running through some things, and um, honing those skills again. So, all right, we've got just under 8 minutes to hit one Joe approved unit. Um, Still waiting on an update to that website so we can run a timer and all that fun stuff. Let's see, what else do we have? I have, and this is something in the works, but I did acquire a couple of Lenovo, um, their ultra small form factor units, for $25 a piece. I've got one up and running great. The other one has been giving me a few more hassles, but we'll get that updated and hopefully get that working more reliably. So, worst case scenario, it's a parts machine, right? But yeah, uh, hopefully things are going to smooth out, and at work and other projects, and lend towards putting out more YouTube stuff, and finishing that doggone Linux course that I keep talking about. um, I I have to force myself to draw a line in the sand and not add or remove any more topics to it. Just finish recording the list I've got, and I can go back in later and add or tweak things if necessary based on feedback. But I need to get that finished up and cross that off my to-do list. So hopefully once it's done, people will find some use for it, and it will make some concepts and topics more clear for people, and hopefully save them some time, because that's kind of my approach to this course. Is um, most of my viewers have some technical knowledge, whether that's coming from the Windows side of things or experience using Linux. But if I can share some of these time-saving tips that I've learned over the years, I'm all for giving people a few shortcuts to save them time. So, um, because there's no sense in doing things the long way. It would be like writing out long division on paper when you've got access to a calculator, which everybody does either in the form of their computer or their cell phone. So there's no excuse for it. And save a tree, use a calculator. And yes, for 4th and 5th grade teachers out there, yes, we will be all carrying a calculator in our pockets. So, to think that people thought we wouldn't be doing that, it's ludicrous. Ludicrous. I've had 2 of my jobs over the years that sent me to external courses on how to deal with difficult people. Then I realized I was probably one of them. Well, I'm sure we all have our moments. I know the day that I was working on that Uniflow project. My coworkers, because it was a staff in-service day, and so my coworkers decided they wanted to play Miley Cyrus, and I'm not a fan of pop music in general, but that was just particularly annoying to me that day. Maybe it was because I was a little stressed about the project, but that's beside the point. So once they all left, because I ended up staying for 2.5 hours extra, I put on some music that I liked better. So yeah, it was that kind of day. But yeah, we'll see what happens next. I'm sure this will be another interesting week, and by the time I do another live stream, another Sunday live stream, at least I will have some updates to talk about for that library project, and maybe a few other things will have fallen in place by then as well. So we will see. All right, less than 2 minutes to go, and we'll have a Joe approved unit. Actually, I think it's more like 3 minutes because there was a little bit of time, I think, with music playing. But so we'll call it an hour and 1 minute to get the Joe approved unit instead of the full, just the hour, and we'll be in good shape, and then we can all go on with our afternoon. I think I'm going to go out and spray some weeds in the parking lot in the back of the building, in the cracks in the sections of cement where there's weeds growing now. But that might be a good job, and I've got to get one additional air conditioner in, and I'll be set for the summer. And hopefully things will all start falling into place a little bit more, and yeah, it'll be good. And yeah, we'll just see what next happens. I'm sure it'll be interesting. I've definitely got some ideas on things. Just I want to approach the next set of videos a little bit differently, and see if changing some things up a little bit might have an impact on the resulting numbers. So, but I imagine it's going to take a little while to work out of this valley that I'm seeing and back up the other side of the hill, right? So it's all good. Uh, um, Actually reminds me of a book I read, and the name of it escapes me, so I'll have to look that up. But um, things are progressing, and it should be a good summer around here, and make some progress on multiple areas of my life, and keep moving forward. So I know it's going to get a little more exciting in July because they are increasing my hours at the library finally, and that's a welcome change. Welcome change, um, and we'll see how it goes with bringing new staff members on over the course of the summer. So that's always kind of an interesting period of time until the people get settled. So, alrighty, well, we are an hour and a minute, so let's go ahead and wrap this up. And I will see all of you fine folks in the next video, and live will be back in 2 weeks from today. So until then, enjoy the wonderful warm weather. And for those of you who have pools, I'm jealous, but hey, it's all good. I'll talk to you later, people. Have a good one. Stay safe.